none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented?
Aye.
We're unanimous, thank you. We have a correspondence folder this evening?
We don't have anything for the correspondence folder tonight.
Okay, thank you. Commendations, good news.
I have one.
Excellent.
I was able to attend the Seeing for Reality event today, so the economics fair here at the high school,
Mhm.
which was wonderful, being able to see the kids being able to learn about getting a job and budgeting and figuring out what those life expenses are
Mhm.
in order to see how they'll start operating. And I heard great reviews from our kids. They were all very pleasant and orderly and did a great job today. It was really fun.
That's great. Thanks for the update. Anybody have anything else? All right, so we'll move on. I will now open the floor to public comment. Do I have public comment this evening? Okay, so what I'll do for public comment, I just ask you to come to the table. You'll state your name and your address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes for your public comment, during which time we just ask, of course, that we stay respectful, etc. This isn't a question and answer period. You are welcome to ask a question, but you may not get an answer, which sometimes seems strange to people in their first time up. But we do our very best to answer questions as we go.
Watching the meetings.
Thanks.
All right.
Go ahead.
So hi, my name is Justine Kincaid Castley. I live at 2 2nd Avenue. I'd first like to address the taxpayers, and I'd like to say I don't believe the school board at this point is trying to cover anything up. You guys have been very transparent and informative, and I think that you're trying really hard to provide voters some options for what to do, and I think that's great. You've been working to determine what the best warrant articles are to present, because obviously you don't want to be presenting something that's not going to be good for the community. You've also been working to look out for uninformed community members, and I think that's commendable. I think it's easy to point fingers, and we all live in our own world, and in our own world it's easy to say, well, I'm responsible and I can handle my own money, but let's be honest, some people can't. And the community needs to look out for those people who can. I think a genuine opportunity exists in this case to use some of this money to address current issues. We've talked about the Maple Ave roof, the heating systems, the Mountain View septic, and how that all needs to be addressed. I don't think additions and land need to be purchased at this time. I've been doing a lot of research on enrollment and the town numbers, and I've posted some information on Facebook for review as well. But I believe we have adequate room if we can move some things around at this point. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. I think it's in everyone's best interest to do a lot of research before they make their decisions at voting, first and foremost. And to the school board, while I think you've been very transparent and informative, I don't think that you've been informative enough at this point. There are lots of uninformed residents, and I'll be honest, I was an uninformed resident. I didn't watch the news or read newspapers. I got my news from the internet for the most part, and I wasn't a part of Facebook groups, so I missed out on a lot of the local town news that there was. And I certainly wasn't going to the Goffstown webpage on a regular basis. I have no children, so I wouldn't have received an email. And I'm concerned for people who are in that same situation, that maybe have just moved to town and are not comfortable getting to know people at this point. I think there needs to be more communication. Perhaps we can look into doing some postings at the local businesses and try to get the news out through that. I also feel as though direct mailings would be nice. I realize that's not necessarily feasible, but I definitely think that we can get some news out through the Goffstown News, which is directly mailed to the homes. I don't know if there's an email list that we could possibly get in contact with some Goffstown residents on. I know that the parents were informed via email, and I think that's great, but I think that more people need to be informed at this point. And most importantly, I think we need to encourage a little bit more word of mouth and talking to our neighbors, going door to door maybe, and letting them know what's going on, because I feel as though, like I said, if I didn't know about this beforehand, I would have no idea what was going on. And I think it would be nice to create a direct link, if possible, with all documents and GTV broadcasts so that people can be well informed. And I would like to say that there are residents who do want options, and I am one, so thank you for presenting those options. And I think maybe some people are upset about the wording. Maybe you can change the wording and say that some of these articles are coming from tax, and then the rest can go back. It's gonna be an offset. It's 6 of one, half dozen of another. What difference does it really make? But if it makes people happy, then I guess that's great. So that's all I have. Thank you and good evening.
Okay, thank you. Do I have more? I do.
Beverly Powden from Autumn Street. And mine's a question, I know you can't answer it, but I would really like to know when the 2017 audit's coming out and when it will be available to use since all this started. I think that's a very important piece of that puzzle of the 9.1 million to make sure that it didn't happen again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Christy Garrison, 288 Tibbetts Hill Road. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My question is, I started to do a little bit of, I wanted to read some previous year's minutes, and when I went on the Goffstown School Board website, there's only minutes for this year, and if I want to go back any further than the 2017, it said to contact the SAU office. And I don't always remember that being that way. I thought the previous year's minutes used to be on your website. The town goes back to 2004. So it's very difficult as a resident if you want to look at previous meetings, if you don't want to watch all of GTV's meetings, which I think that only goes back to 2010, to do a little bit of research and history. So I would request that you put the minutes from previous meetings on your website and not have to go through the SAU for that information because the work's already done. The link should be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Hawk and I live on Mountain Road. My question for you is the budget for the upcoming budget, proposed budget that you're going to make. How do we know that's a real budget in terms of where the number is coming from? Because we have this huge surplus. So how are we going to know that the budget that you present is a real budget, if that makes any sense? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Tim Redmond. I live at 4 Stinson Road. Both of my children attended the school system here in town, and they graduated, attended college, and now they're off in the real world. As an elected member of the Goffstown Planning Board, I've represented the Planning Board as chairman of the Capital Improvement Committee here in this town, a subcommittee of the Planning Board for over 10 years. Annually, the CIP committee is charged with planning capital project expenses over a 7-year matrix. Oftentimes, requests from the school district and the town departments exceed the anticipated funding available, and the committee is forced to move projects out, often multiple years, in an attempt to ensure that the tax rate does not fluctuate greatly from year to year. Many town residents have not seen requested projects move forward that will benefit some or all of the residents due to funding concerns. This happens almost every year while I've been served on the CIP committee. Our recommended CIP plan is then forwarded to the Planning Board for discussion and acceptance. Once the Planning Board and once accepted at the Planning Board, the CIP plan goes to the Board of Selectmen and then ultimately to the Budget Committee for their deliberations. I would strongly recommend, as a resident and the CIP committee town chairman, that all of the funds in the question be returned to the town. And then allow the residents and the Board of Selectmen to decide how the funds should be distributed. I believe that an equitable system of distribution between town departments and the school district should be approved by warrant article votes in our election cycle, and that would be the fairest use of the funds in question. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rose Gilbert, we're 214 Gorham Pond. I have a lot of problems with finding $9.1 million that we didn't know was there for the past 5 years. I've made some phone calls. I've done a lot of research. The internet's a wonderful thing. I understand back in 2013 that we voted as a town to allow the school to retain 2.5% under RSA 198.4-B for unassigned fund balance. That's understandable. It appears that the funds that the school didn't use were never put back into help offset tax. I also want to make sure that any funds that aren't given back are voted on by the taxpayers under the rules. I don't want to see all of the money go back to the taxpayers as one lump sum, because I don't want our tax rate to collapse. I don't want to have my tax decrease so much that I'm not paying any taxes one year, and the next year I'm going to have to come up with twice as much money to pay my taxes. If we have some bonds that need to be brought down, I'd like to see some of the money put towards that, but there again, you have to set that before the taxpayers. I just have a really hard time trusting that you guys have put together a budget that's gonna work, that's equitable, and that's realistic. If I did that with my budget at home, I'd lose my home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Eric Harding, Friendship Drive here in Goffstown. Over the last few meetings, you guys have discussed options of what to do with the money. I think that's all great, and I think I agree with just about what everybody else is saying. My concern is what are we going to do going forward? You said that there are things put in place where this won't happen again. I'd like to know what that is, so that we can actually read it, and maybe as citizens of this town that we can discuss it to see if we can make sure that we hold you guys accountable for what happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe McCarthy, Mountain Base Road. I first want to thank everybody that was elected to the board. You guys didn't sign up for any of this, and it's in your lap, and I think you're doing a spectacular job handling it the way you are. I am a believer in some of this money should go to projects that are in need. If we, at home, in our home budgets, needed things done and we happen to find some money in a pocket, we would probably put it towards getting that project done. I do believe most of the money should go back for tax relief, but there are some projects I know you guys have mentioned, that should be taken care of. So, my trust is in you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
My name is Jared Talbot from Pinecrest Drive on the outskirts of Parker Station Road. I'd like to thank everybody for giving us an opportunity to voice our opinions. I am a project manager, program manager, so I deal with budgets all the time. I'm glad to see that the people that are held accountable have been held accountable, and the board is doing what it can to move forward, and I appreciate that. I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of New Hampshire, so I know how important it is for education to be balanced with taxes and with money. As a parent, I have 2 small boys in our current school system. I have a young girl that's going to be in our school system soon. Sorry, they'll be in our school system soon. But as a parent and as a resident, this money was stolen from the individual taxpayers. We are where we are, and I think that does need to be returned back to the taxpayers to offset our actual taxes. I do understand people are concerned with escrow accounts and being able to have a low escrow tax bill and then a spike. But if you look at it year over year from 2014, 2015, going to 2018, it should be the same level. So yes, people will get money back. They can use that money. They can reinvest it. They can put it forward to their tax bill for when the taxes do go up. Again, I think the money should come back, and I understand that there are warrant articles that will be used. And if people vote for those, of course, we'll use that money to offset the surplus funds. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Going once? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Thank you. Which brings us to our standing committee reports. Policy review?
The Policy Review Committee has not met since this full board's last meeting. Our next meeting is January 29th at 5:30 at the SAU office.
Okay, thank you. PNC?
PNC met this evening, and we discussed a draft list of FAQs regarding the situation we're in right now. And some of these questions answered questions that were posed this evening, as well as other questions that have been asked for the last several weeks. And we're still working on this, but I guess I'd like to propose or recommend that we allow PNC to continue working on this and publish it on the website so that accurate and true information is put out there for everyone to see.
So that motion, do I have a second? Jenny? Any further discussion?
Do we need a motion for the PNC to do the work?
What we're asking for is the board's blessing to actually publish on behalf of the board onto the website.
If it is so documented on the documents that this is a publication of the subcommittee
Mhm.
and not necessarily reviewed by the full committee, that would probably be appropriate. Because the sooner we get the information, and I don't think the subcommittee's gonna say something that we haven't already discussed, but just for full disclosure, it would be something, I mean, we don't wanna wait to bring it to the full committee.
And see, that's the trick, right? Is that information is important, and getting the correct information out there in a timely manner. And yet, if you wait for permission every 2 weeks, it doesn't
It's not
get
gonna
out
make
there.
sense.
We need a better vehicle to try to communicate. So that's the effort here. I'll take it on board consensus if we have consensus. Is the board comfortable with this process, and would the board be comfortable?
I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
I think it's the
It's a great
committee's-
idea.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I'll rescind my second. No, it wasn't my second. Was there a second?
I'll rescind mine.
Okay, so we have board's consensus that PNC can publish FAQs on behalf of the board in an effort to try to get more information out into the community that they can use to understand and know what the situation is. Okay. Anything else, Retta?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Sandy?
CNE has not met, and our next meeting will be January 29th at 7 at the SAU.
All right, thank you. Budget Committee has met. They met last Friday night. It had been previously scheduled for Thursday, but of course, with our snowstorm that we had, it got rescheduled to Friday. So during that time, we did approve, they recommended 2 warrant articles on behalf of the patrolmen, and then on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. So 2 collective bargaining agreements came forward for consideration to the Budget Committee. Anybody who attends a public hearing tomorrow night, which is at 7 o'clock, will hear more about that. We also did, of course, address the ongoing situation as it pertains to these surplus funds. The question was asked about our budget and where do we stand with the budget. There was some discussion as to whether or not, given the fact that we've accumulated these funds, if our proposed budget is too high. The Budget Committee did choose to go forward with our budget. We did have good discussion that will also be discussed at public hearing tomorrow. But I thought it was good, healthy discussion, because of course, when you face a situation like this, they're all valid questions. And certainly questions that we're all working really hard to make sure are answered and addressed and put forward. So public hearing tomorrow night at 7 in the auditorium. All right, this brings us to A&F.
On behalf of the A&F Committee who met this evening, by unanimous consent, we request that we approve a total manifest this evening in the amount of $2,582,071.69.
So I have that motion. Do I have a second? By Heather, thank you. Details, please, Dan?
We've got some payroll and payroll taxes, the normal things that we do. There are actually 2 payrolls, and so the amount is a little higher than when we do one. It's $1.9 million. Special education activity payments to a vendor, $5,000 or more. We paid the Bedford School District for the payment 1 of 3 for an autism student, so it's kind of like an out-of-district placement, but the out-of-district is actually the Bedford School District, so it's close enough, and that's $26,000. It's $13,200, payment 1 of 3, and then there's 420 hours at approximately $30 an hour. The Birch Tree Center, 1 student for January 2018, $9,600. The Core Vocational Services, 1 student for December 17, $5,100. The Durham School Services, if you remember, this used to be the Safeway, the transportation, changed their name, $62,000 for August and September out of district, and December in-district transportation bill. The Lighthouse School for 1 student for December, $6,900. November tuition for 2 students to Spalding Youth Center, $13,000. Valley Collaborative, services for 1 student, $5,400. And that's our sped activity. Now we have several general expenses, $5,000 and over per vendor. Our propane for Glen Lake, all the schools, from Dead River Company, $16,000. Power from Eversource, $16,800. We purchased 3 snow blowers, and I don't know why, have we had snow lately? Just trying to make it light. That's $79.77. We paid the Goffstown School District. Doesn't that sound kind of silly? What we did is we owed money on our bond. The bond, which was this is for the energy savings, the Honeywell project, and it was a direct payment out of an account at Citizens Bank, but we moved all the money from Citizens Bank to TD Bank. So we moved the bond payment back to our account at Citizens Bank so it could be directly paid from there.
Okay.
And that's why it kind of looks funny. So that's actually a bond transfer using Wells Fargo. The Goffstown Truck Center, which is for our normal bus services for 2017, and the extra cameras, and the Manchester School of Technology, $113,363. Melanson Heath, these are some services we had directly related to the audit, $8,980. North Country Tractor, we our 10-year plus old tractor, wouldn't go forward, wouldn't go backwards, slipped out of gear, different things. $5,989 to fix that, and it's back in good working order. We bought some food supplies from Performance Food Service for $10,500. We paid the SAU their January assessment in the amount of $107,576. Stantec, which is the construction progress building, 7241. Was that
That's our engineering firm for
the
drainage project.
Yep. And Sulloway and Hollis, which is the legal firm that is our normal legal firm, was $15,000. Of that, $5,700 was for stuff prior to what we're dealing with now with the funds, and $9,400 directly related to the auditing. And the last one is our installment for Apple computers, and that's held by Wells Fargo for $32,846.
All right. thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the manifest as presented?
Aye.
We're unanimous, thank you. Anything else, Dan?
We don't have anything else remaining now, thank you.
All right, so this brings us to the superintendent's report.
Just a few quick things this evening. Diane already mentioned the date of the Budget Committee's public hearing. I will mention the date for the school district deliberative session. That is Saturday, February 3rd at 10 a.m. here at the high school in the auditorium. I wanted to let the board know I approved an early graduation request for a student named Hope Delorme, and Hope will be graduating mid-year as a senior, and she's already exceeded the graduation requirements and is working in a dual enrollment, so she's already earning college credit, so we're very proud of her. In your individual packets this evening, you received information. We updated, I believe at the request of Mr. Cloutier at the last meeting, the calendar with some new color-coded information. And actually, the New Boston School District had asked us to do some color coding of the calendar, which we have done for next year, but we've updated that because we had a snow day last Thursday. We were closed, and then last Friday was a delayed opening. So the calendar reflects those 2 days. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Jack, you miss your usual time. Do you have a student report that you want to share?
Not much. I know that Poach Out Loud has their competition, which was supposed to be their preliminaries were going to be last Thursday. They were canceled, so now they're having a almost like a morning and afternoon session tomorrow, as well as Wednesday, and then the school competition will be Thursday at 7 p.m. in the theater.
So the whole school has a competition, right?
Yep.
And then from there, does a winner go to the state?
Yep, the winner will go to the state competition.
Nice.
Not really got anything else.
Okay,
So, thank you.
thank you. All right, so this brings us to some old business. And as we move forward, you may remember that we had tabled a warrant articles discussion 2 weeks ago. We need to take that off the table.
I make a motion to move the warrant discussion off the table.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Stephen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We've moved that discussion off the table.
Do you have, a pen, please?
Thank you. Does anyone feel that we are ready to have that discussion now? Go ahead.
Don't we kind of really have to have it? Because
No, we do, but we
Public hearings
have
tomorrow.
a lot of different things to talk about. But no, you're absolutely correct, that tonight, if we are going to move any warrant articles, they need to be taken care of tonight in preparation so they can be discussed at the budget public hearing tomorrow.
I'm definitely in favor of Article 2, which is our budget.
Well, there's
Which is
that.
the normal one. But if we turn to page, the second sided page, I think last Wednesday, we were discussing possibilities of warrant articles. And as far as I'm concerned, there are two things that we have been publicly talking about for years. And so if we want to not even think about the money that has been misreported to the Department of Revenue, had it been reported, could have been returned for tax relief. These two warrant articles are items that we have been talking about. Now, the amounts may not be what I'm thinking about, but I would be in favor of Article 3 with the modifications indicating that it would be to raise and appropriate from taxes, but not to indicate that it's gonna come from, is this different than the one I read? It won't come from unassigned fund balances. It'll just be raised by taxes. Now, one of the individuals who spoke at the public comment, it's either way it works. So, but what, we're not trying to take money, I am not trying to take money that would otherwise have gone back to the taxpayer. I'm trying to put before the voters, the items that we have been talking about for years. And let's give them an option. I was in favor of seeding the capital reserve fund, I believe a year ago at about $200,000, and I haven't changed that opinion because there may seem to be more money available now. So I'm comfortable with 200,000. But I would love to hear what the rest of the board thinks.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody at this table is trying to take money that was supposed to
Not
be
at all.
returned to the taxpayers, and I think that's very important to note. But of course, we do have business that we've been talking about for a long time, such as trying to address, set up a mechanism to pay for some of our CIP items. I like the wording of raising and appropriating versus not coming from, for no tax impact. I think it's a cleaner way to try to move forward with this. I think we have an obligation to continue to try to address the needs of the district. But certainly raising and appropriating is a way to do it. I think it's fair. And if the taxpayers, if the voters vote no, then they vote no. Anybody have anything else to discuss on this warrant?
I guess I have a question because Dan had mentioned that in the past he had thought about 200,000 and now we have it up to 250,000. And I think we talked briefly about that a while ago, but is there, was there some way that we come to 250,000 being put here? Is that just a placeholder?
I think it was just a placeholder.
I think it was just somebody typing a number.
I'm in favor of Article 3. I mean, I've spoken about it a few times. I think it's just smart planning to start saving for some of these big CIP projects. And the 200,000 number is the one that we've discussed. I'd be comfortable moving forward with that. I mean, I like keeping these articles separate from the 9.1 number that we've been talking about. I think that's, that's going to go back into the tax calculation and go back, and then we kind of start fresh with these two articles that we've been discussing for years, and see if we can move forward with them now.
So Diane, if I can just add a point of clarification.
Go ahead.
The way that this is written, it's that the funds to create this capital reserve fund and then populating that with this money, and again, whether it's 200,000 or whatever number the board chooses, this money is coming from the June 30th, 2018 unassigned fund balance. So not to make this more complicated, but that is money from this fiscal year. This is not part of the 9.1 million. So I just want to be clear that people understand that we're talking about money from this current school district year, this fiscal year. This is separate from the 9.1.
I think it's an important clarification.
And I think you also have to make the clarification that unassigned money at the end of the year is not taxpayer dollars that people have paid in, much like the $9 million is not taxpayer money that has been paid in. Part of that money is revenues that have been produced over the year, grant money that's come in, tuition money that's come in, those kinds of revenues. So all of that unassigned money is not money that's come out of taxpayers' pockets. It's money that the school district has really earned over and above that out of their hard work, by having a good school system and having people want to send their kids here, thus tuition money, people who are working hard at working on grants to get extra money coming in and taking care of things that we need here. So a lot of that money, both on our unassigned balances that we get every year, that we send in for tax relief, is not actual tax dollars that have come out of their pocket. And part of the $9 million is not money that they have paid in. It's part of this money that's been generated by the school district in revenue. So I think that's just something really important for people to realize, that in considering these articles and in considering the budget, because this extra money is not over budgeting, but really extra money that's come in that's over and above the money that we've budgeted. And you never know at the beginning of the budget process that that money will in fact come in. So we work on a budget that's very carefully thought out. And then if people do a really good job and we're lucky and these extra monies come in, then we have extra money at the end. But it's not because we've over budgeted and we've, put extra money into the budget to make it be extra, and, we can do all kinds of things with it. It's just that revenues have come in that we've been lucky for. And I think those are really important things for people to understand in our budget process, because I've heard some comments here that, oh my goodness, that people have, that they don't believe our budgets are fair budgets, and they really are. Because, we nickel and dime these budgets to death, but then we have money at the end of the year, and they need to know why we have money at the end of the year.
Anybody else have anything to add regarding Article 3 or potential Article 3? Are we comfortable with 200,000?
Yes. Yep.
Any other further discussion?
Does this necessarily, is this gonna go without a motion from the board, or?
No, I think we need to move it.
I think we need to move it,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
What I'm looking for is the wording, if, I'm trying to find some wording from the town.
Yep.
When they buy stuff, not of late, because of late they've been using their unassigned fund balance. And whether it said something to the effect of to be raised by taxation. When you do the math is gonna come out the exact same way. It's like calling, it's a half a dozen, or you say, I wanna order 6.
Mhm.
It's irrelevant. It's the words you're using, so, but there is a perception that we are trying to give to the people that this is being put on the warrant because we've been talking about it for years, not because of any other reason. And I think that could be kind of important, although depending on the moderator's decision, whatever words we use, without modifying the intent, it could be changed, the wording could be changed at deliberative session, I believe. So I'm not sure what kind of crack we want to put in here, or whether we want to continue to use the words unassigned fund balance available from, and I don't think, did we ever get a chance to check with DRA? I don't
We
think
did.
So we can't say from unexpended appropriations of the 2017-28 budget or something of that nature.
Well, really, Dan, if I'm hearing you correctly, if you want to put forth the recommendation to raise and appropriate, that's already included in the language just prior to the dollar amount.
Right.
And if you strike with the funds to come from the June 30th, 2018 unassigned fund balance available on July 1, 2018, is that what you're saying?
Yes. That's kind of like what I'm saying. I'm not sure if that does what the DRA would approve or not.
The
Maybe-
DRA has very strong opinions as to how our
Yes.
warrant articles need
Yes.
to.
And so, what we could do is we could frame it in the effect of what we are trying to do and give the administration the authority to work with the DRA and get the wording right.
So this had already been reviewed by the DRA,
Yeah.
but not with striking the sentence that says with the funds to come from the June 30th, 2018 unassigned fund balance available on July 1 of 18.
Right.
Wasn't the original intent when we were doing this warrant article was if we had money left over, so that if
Yes.
we only had 100,000 left over at the end of the year, that we would only seed it with 100,000, and that way there would not be, we're not guaranteeing 250, we're just guaranteeing there will not be a raise in taxation by making this fund available.
We do have to have some certain amount, though.
No, and that's why we have that, but I
Okay.
believe the idea is by putting in that language that
Right.
it's only taken from this year,
Right.
that we will not raise taxes even if we do not have that money left over.
But that was prior to finding that the reports were erroneously
Correct.
reported.
But if we're trying to ignore that money that's
We-
going back.
Unfortunately, we can't, because the money is there, and the DRA doesn't segregate that unreported money with the current year's money. Unfortunately, they're putting in one big pot. So in essence, technically, it's all unassigned fund balance on July 1st. And that's the piece that makes it back onto the correct report. So there's not two, like, hey, the ones you got messed up in the prior years plus the current year is just one number. And so there is right now a guaranteed $200,000. It's there. We already know it's there. It's gonna happen, no matter what happens with this year's budget.
Well, if it was approved.
If
If it
the
was
voters approve
approved.
it. Let me-
Hold on.
Yes, it's a warrant article, so
Yeah.
if the warrant article is approved, and the money is there, and it's guaranteed to be there, is, full disclosure.
I think we would have to make sure that our voter guide
That's-
really
Right,
explained that
and
well.
so that's what I'm trying to get from you
because
guys.
it's
Where do
confusing.
you think we should go? Should we leave it this way because that's the way it works? Or do we try to get the DRA to say, and I'm trying to find out, like back 3 years ago, when the town bought a truck and it came from additional taxation, not from money that they had in the bank.
Right.
What did it look like? I don't know.
I think if you strike that sentence,
It's gonna confuse people. You think it will?
I don't think it'll
raise
confuse
raise and
people. I think-
appropriate is pretty clear.
Yeah, raise and appropriate, that's the wording you can't change, because that's the technical wording for fund accounting.
I think if that's what we want to do, we can make the motion with that clear, and if administration needs to finalize language with DRA to, further that intent,
I like
I don't see why we can't go that way.
We have very little time, though, to finalize this.
And I will say,
We have-
DRA is always very supportive and helpful, but our person that we typically work with is away. She's, was it till the 16th? So she's gone until January 16th, but I'm sure we could speak to someone else. One of the other reps we could speak with.
I mean, I understand what this sentence is trying to say, but I believe that we are on the same page. I think that portion needs to be stricken.
I'm looking at the warrant that we had proposed last year. I don't think we put it on ballot, but it just says from the unreserved
Right.
fund balance as available on July 1, 2017. From that version, I mean, this might have been a draft that we didn't move forward.
Right, and we did that when we were doing, so that what Lori had said, if the funds weren't there, additional taxes wouldn't be made to make it happen. It would have to be unspent monies. So we would have had to tighten the belt to do what we did to get there. Yeah. So, rather than look it up, maybe we just work, do you think you have enough time to do that tomorrow, Brian?
Absolutely. But the intent would be to raise and appropriate from taxation
Yeah.
and have this money, the creation of the capital reserve fund and the deposit into the capital reserve fund to come from taxation, not from unassigned funds. Got it?
In that, I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion that we add warrant Article 3 or whatever number it ends up being, as shown here in the amount of $200,000 with the wording stricken, but with DRA approval to what pursuant to our discussions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So my concern is, what's the backup plan if we don't have DRA approval?
DRA will have wording to approve it the way we are thinking. because there are jurisdictions that do this all the time.
Right. I just want to make sure that we
Sure.
address this.
I'm having a hard time understanding, if DRA says you can't get that by raising taxes, one, I'll probably fall over dumbfounded. But if we had to say something in order to have the public hearing tomorrow, which we need to do, then I would revert back to this wording rather than nothing. I think that would be
Mhm.
appropriate. Understand?
Mhm.
I do. I mean,
Is that helpful to your concern?
it is. So I have a motion, I have a second. Do I have any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We're unanimous. Okay. We have non-public this evening?
We do.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about the other article that was on here?
I think we need to start, yes.
Okay.
We don't have all the information as of yet, but I think I'd like us to talk about as much as we can
Okay,
right now.
got it. If we had the opportunity, I would like to see the warrant article. We've been talking about it for years.
I'm sorry, say that again?
If we had the opportunity to fulfill the essence of this warrant article, I would be in favor of the warrant article. To let the voters make a decision.
And I think that's the important focus, right? That when we put warrant articles out there, it's only made, it's the voters who
Right.
approve it and allow it to happen. And I think that's really important for people to remember. And if it's something that they don't want, then they would vote no.
Right. But without this body making this recommendation and put it forward in the process, then it can't happen. Unless someone had a petition warrant article, which would have had to go on to the supervisor of the checklist by a certain timeline. I don't remember what it is to get the number of voters, and this whole
I
process.
think it was
happened.
Friday.
Hmm?
The deadline was Friday.
Last Friday? Okay.
As I understand it, yes, because they needed to have it ready, as we've been saying, for tomorrow, for the 9th.
Makes sense.
Yep. Now, we've heard a lot of feedback from members of the community, which I think is absolutely wonderful, that people have come out and taken the time to share what their thoughts were. And we have heard everything from do absolutely nothing to we'd like to see you offer more warrant articles and more choices. And we've heard a lot of, different variations in between as well. Do we feel that we are doing our due diligence and we're doing what we need to do by way of the taxpayers in the town with these proposals? Is there something we haven't done that we need to do? Is there anything else that we feel that we need to consider in this area? Jenny?
I think these are two things that we've talked about for a long time, and they're things that have been in our planning process for a long time. And I really think we need to continue planning, and I think by putting them on a warrant article that people can choose whether they want to help us with our planning process or not. So I think that's fair.
I mean, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because we've heard, from, like I said, some people think we need to offer more choices, and some don't want to see it. I'm concerned that people will see the presentation of choices and be offended by them or be disappointed. And my concern with that is that it will be our students who suffer by way of lack of support. I do want to say that I am in support of us putting forward these warrant articles, and the reason why I am is because I want to give our community the opportunity to say, yes, I am in favor of this, or no, I am not. If we do nothing, then we take that choice away from them by not even offering them that choice. And that is why I'm in favor of at least putting some choices forward so we can give our community an opportunity to respond and to say, because this is something I said at our last meeting on Wednesday, and I'll say it again, had we been given the correct information all along, we would have had the opportunity to respond and give our townspeople, or potentially give our townspeople choices. And unfortunately, we didn't have that opportunity, nor did our community, and we find ourselves in this situation. And I do think, as much as I've heard loud and clear from so many people, I think this is, I'd like to go forward and offer our people choices.
I think too, by putting it on the warrant article, that gives us some time, so that more information will get out, people will be better educated with exactly what happened, and it won't be quite so reactionary thing, that it may be more thought out with more information, and people can make decisions from an informed decision, because there will be more information that we can give them. And I just think the warrant articles are maybe the way to go.
Anybody have anything else to share?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stephen.
I think that we've considered, a wide range of options. I think we've worked really hard to think about what, is out there and to listen. But I'm in agreement that this sort of focused, targeted approach on these two articles, ones that we've been considering for years, is the way to go. I think those are the options we should put out there for voters. And these two in particular are forward-thinking. I think they're good planning articles, thinking about how we're going to move this district forward into the future, and I fully support them.
Anybody have anything else? Rhoda?
And I echo everything everybody said. We've worked on these for a long time. I think I mentioned this at our last meeting, that we took one of the warrant articles off last year because we didn't feel like it was the right time, and we already know that next time isn't the right time. So this is it. I mean, we could wait 10 years and hope it's the right time, but I don't, that's not gonna do us any good. These are really things that we've thought about for a long time, and the timing is right, except for our circumstances, but otherwise it's right to put this forward.
And we really have to keep our kids in mind in all of this too. Like, if we're in a bad situation, but our kids are first, and we have to really keep them front and center in our planning process.
I couldn't agree more, Jenny. I think that looking forward, I echo what the rest of the board has said, but I think that with both Article 3 and 4, the work that we've put in is to look forward and is to set our kids up for success. If something happens, to have that extra money to be able to address the issue instead of foregoing it and having our kids go without. I think that's poor planning, and I hope that the community and the voters do see that these articles, I think, are very necessary, and yes, we have put them off for years with contracts up and really wanting to pass our contracts and make sure that that's the main focus, is so incredibly important. This is our year to bring something else in front of the voters and ask for their input and ask for their support to help our kids, and especially looking forward to, looking forward for our school's growth. You know, our buildings are crammed, our elementary schools are busting at the seams, and I think it's important that we keep our eyes open towards the future and knowing that, you know, Goffstown's a great place to live, and our schools are the reason people come here to live, and they're not going to stop coming. There's just people coming you can hardly you know, look online for houses, and it's, you know, there one day and gone the next minute. People are dying to come here, and that's great, but we also need to keep that in mind as we go forward and ask for the voters' support to keep that in mind. We are a growing community and a growing school district, and I fully support both of these articles.
Diane, if I could just offer, because people in the audience and perhaps folks at home don't have the luxury of this in front of them, I wonder if it might be helpful to just give a little more information. We keep talking about Article 4. People
Yeah.
don't necessarily know what Article 4 is.
No, please do.
So just, this is, shall the Goffstown School District vote to raise and appropriate with the sum to be inserted for the purpose of acquiring property located at, and we have to insert the lot number and the map number, the sum to come, and again, this was something that the board had talked about, whether this was an article that you wanted to recommend using unassigned funds, or you wanted to recommend raising and appropriating money. And just to be clear, there are 2 parcels of land that are adjacent to Goffstown High School. In total, there are 110 acres between Norman Road and Wallace Road. That's the property that we're talking about. I think the board needs to talk about whether you want to take a similar approach that you took with Article 3, the creation of the Capital Reserve Fund, and specifically whether you'd like to recommend that that comes from, the payment comes from unassigned funds, or that you're going to keep the unassigned funds completely separate and give the voters the opportunity to raise that money through taxation.
I thought the spirit was to raise through taxation.
That, I believe that's the case, and I think there was one individual who spoke at public comment indicating it might not be the time, but I have to remind everyone that we have, the high school's sports program has just been upgraded from Division II to Division I, which means when they play, they not only play varsity, they play junior varsity, and we don't have enough physical infrastructure fields in order to do that. We would have to shut down sports programs if that were the case, because we wouldn't be able to physically have those games played at the same time. And this happened quite quickly, and I think it's affecting us now. We worked it out. I think it was the Allard Park, I'm not sure if that's still there, has offered to be able to use their field so that we have at least the ability for softball,
Baseball.
baseball,
JV baseball.
JV baseball to play
For next year.
for next year, but that is a one-year cover. We need someplace else to go, and we don't have any place to go. Land isn't just to put a physical building on. It's also for other things, like cross-country trails, for instance. All myriad of things. So it's important for us to understand that it's more than just future planning. We probably have a more immediate need than otherwise.
Does anyone else have anything to share?
And once it's developed, it's gone, and it's not available to us. And this is just a long-term plan where if we should ever need to build, we also have a place that might be available to us. I remember when we were looking for Mountain View and for Glen Lake, we searched all over town for a place that might be available. So this would give us some planning in the future where we have a spot should we need to do something possibly. So not only helping us with our immediate problem, but possibly some problems in the future. And if we don't have it at maybe houses. And never available to us again.
Anything else? I know. You're trying. I am. All right. So I think this concludes our discussion at this point, and I will move us on to our surplus fund discussion. Brian, do you have an update for us?
I don't, not since last week, so there's no new additional information from last week. But Diane, if I may, just before you leave, Article 4, the current language that we had put in front of you specifically has the sum to come from June 30th, 2018 unassigned fund balance. Would it be the board's intent to strike that sentence consistent with the action that you took regarding Article 3?
It would be,
Yes.
it would be my vote.
I'm sorry, I think that was inferred, but I just wanted to be,
Yes.
to be
No,
clear.
let's be clear. Thank you.
Are you all set now?
I am, thank you.
Okay. So just regarding the surplus fund discussion, I know you just said that you don't have an update for us, but I am curious regarding the 2017 audit. When will we have that report?
We were just notified by the town at the end of last week that our submissions for the town report were due by January 25th. Does that sound right, Mrs. Moran? So I emailed the auditor. I have not seen, the audit report is not finished, and I did share the date with the auditor that we need to have the full report available for the town report for their submission on the 25th. So the auditor is aware. In the past, we have received the audit reports about this time or even a little earlier, sometimes in December. So it is delayed, and it's delayed, I think, I don't want to speak for the auditor, but certainly the complexity of all the situations that we've been dealing with. So as soon as the audit report is received, that will be a public document. We had a question about that. We'll put that on the website for folks to be able to review, but it would be, certainly, we have to have that finished so we can submit it for the town report.
Okay, and then when it's ready, we'll have the auditor, as usual, come before us to give a full presentation.
The auditor will come and give a full presentation as has been past practice. And again, all of those, you can watch all those videos, they're all on GTV.
Okay, and before we move forward from this too, I think it's important for the board to discuss regarding the surplus funds. There seems to be a perception that our conversations around options and trying to gather more information about the surplus funds, what does it mean, what are the consequences, what are the unintended consequences, has somehow been perceived as this board trying to keep and hang on to this fund and not return it to the taxpayers. So I do just want to take this moment of conversation with you all and just clarify and make clear that it is our intent to return the 9.1 million in funds to the taxpayers. Is that a correct statement on behalf of the board?
Yes.
And in fact,
Right.
you just did that.
We
By
just
not taking
talked.
action with the creation of warrant articles that would potentially utilize those funds. The default position, as I've said all along, is June 30th, 2018, those funds are returned. So just to be clear with everyone, that's the action that the board's taken here tonight.
And I know where you're going. I just really want to make clear what the spirit and intent.
Oh, it is, but
Go ahead.
I just want to offer a little math to the folks who might be listening. When $9.1 million was discovered, that was the amount that is available after we had already moved almost 600,000 from our reserve account for the purpose of tax abatement. So the math is, if we hadn't moved the 600,000, it would be 8.5 million. So we think about it that way. So in my mind, I'm no longer thinking 9.1, I'm thinking 8.5, because we've already returned 670,500 and something dollars, I believe, somewhere 200 and something dollars already.
Back in
Back in,
November.
we already returned almost 600,000. Did I say six?
570.
570.
With change. We've returned almost 600,000 of the 9.1 already. If you want to, if that's the way I'm thinking about it. And what that would do is give us the ability to repopulate that fund for those emergencies for which we had to use it, for instance, the flooding, the other stuff from the permissions that we've been given.
The contingency fund.
The contingency.
To be used for emergencies.
Right,
Yep.
for that purpose. So that needs to be part of that entire discussion as well, in my mind.
But is it correct in saying our spirit is
Our
to
spirit,
not
absolutely, and I think
be
what-
hanging on?
We were talking a lot about what should we do? I mean, and rather than do it in secret, we did it in public. And when you do it in public, it's both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is everybody gets to hear everything. The curse is not everybody understands the complexity of what we're talking about. So as we talk more, let's make it more of a blessing to say everything we discussed was not something that this board was going to unilaterally do. Everything we discussed was going to go to the voters. They were the ones that were going to make decisions. But in my hearing, I heard very little of anyone coming back asking us to give them any options. It was, had the money come, let it go, just give it back, we'll deal with it. We're big boys and girls. And so the only thing that we're looking at via Article 3 and 4 are those things that we've been talking about for years. Nothing new.
Does anyone have anything else to add before we move on? And you have nothing else to add?
I don't.
Okay. So this will bring us to some staffing. We have notifications.
We do. Let me send the sheets around.
Thank you. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
I'll wait till everyone gets it. These first series of notifications are regarding track changes. And all of these folks were part of the Southern New Hampshire University on-site master's program that culminated just 2 weeks ago. So this whole list, folks moving into the master's category, we're very proud of them. Congratulations to all of them. And those are notifications. Leave of absence for Diane McCain, high school social studies and special education. Notification of a long-term substitute, Dan Perret, is going to be in while Ms. McCain is on leave. Mr. Perret was a longtime social studies teacher here at the high school, and we're so pleased and thankful to be able to get someone as qualified and knowledgeable as Dan is. So he's retired now, but he's willing to do this long-term assignment for us to support the school. And notification of 2 student teachers, one for Emily App from Southern New Hampshire University, who will be at Glen Lake School, working with Mr. Tisbert and Ms. Hubbard, and for Christina Kelly, who is from the University of New Hampshire, who will be at Bartlett and Goffstown High School, working with Mrs. Fournier, and this is someone who is aspiring to be an occupational therapist. So those are the notifications. And
All right, can you send congratulations to?
We certainly will.
The track changes on behalf of the board, and I'm so proud of them and happy for them.
yeah, this was a pretty awesome achievement.
Yeah.
And I, again, just so proud that we were able to create this program at a fraction of the cost, which made this a fiscally prudent thing to do as well for our teachers. And Southern New Hampshire University gave us an incredible rate that was a fraction of what it cost to take courses on campus at SNU, or online for that matter.
And just for clarification, the teachers paid for this.
Yes.
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 And I think, Brian, just to let people know, the best part of this is the teachers work together on projects.
Yeah.
And just
Collaboration.
benefited our kids wonderfully with new things that they set up, and it just really benefited our kids in that teachers work together and just put it right into the school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And for approvals, we have 2 new nominations for co-curricular. Megan Owens, high school skiing. This is new. And then Doug O'Hara, it's listed as new, but Doug was a coach for us last year, but he is a boys varsity basketball volunteer.
Now, Ms. Owens is on staff here at the high school.
Let me
believe-
look. I don't know. MC, do you know anything about her? Lifelong passion, working with skiing, competitive skiing. I don't have that she's an employee of ours. Oh, yes, she is.
Is she taking over this skiing program, or is she a helper?
I believe she's taking over the position because she's she's asking to be accepted in the position of varsity alpine ski coach at the high school.
And do we know what do we know about Mr. O'Hara?
Oh, Doug is a longtime New Boston resident, lots of years of experience coaching basketball. Doug was what did Doug coach last year? Freshman boys last year was the basketball coach last year. He coached for us last year in a stipended position, and now he's just working as a volunteer.
Okay.
Doug's a very good guy.
Does anyone else have any additional questions?
Yes, have they already started, or are they starting?
I think they've already started. These were ones that we were filling at the last minute.
These are sports have already
Yep.
started.
Yeah, we're mid-season for both of these. All right, do I have a motion? Sarah, what do you got?
I'll make motion to approve the 2 co-curricular sports nominations as presented.
I have that motion. Do I have a second? By Heather, all in favor?
Aye.
We're unanimous, thank you. Anything else? All right, any other business this evening?
Are we doing pictures?
We will need to do pictures, yeah.
And I'm just wondering if Jack will be included.
Yes, of course Jack will be included.
If we go to the other room sometime, we'll forget.
Or do we do it at home?
We do sometimes.
Sometimes we do it at
All
You
right,
can take the picture wherever you'd like.
all right.
In front of books, in front of
Well,
the...
it's like a heat wave out there, we can almost take it outside.
What about that, Dan?
How about in the dark?
Right. We do also have some non-public this evening. We need to take the picture before we go into non-public. And then we'll entertain the motion to enter into non-public. But as far as anybody here, we have no other business besides our picture, and then we'll be entering into non-public. Shall we go in the other room and take it?
Backdrop of books, that would be nice, and the computers, or...
The last couple of years, we've taken the picture in the main office conference room with the big painting behind, the blue mural painting
So we'll do that, and
Okay.
then we'll enter
If
into
you like that.
non-public right after that.
area.
Okay? Thanks, guys. And Jack, you'll join us, right?
Yeah, if that's all right. I apologize for my
No, it's not at all that it's all right. We want you in the
It
picture.
was like 6:50 and I was checking my email. I checked it prior to this and I was like, oh, there's a meeting tonight.
No, we postponed this picture so we could have Jack in it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. All right, let's go do that. And,
So we bring all our stuff, right? Because we're not gonna come back. No one's around.
Close to being on time, but.
okay. What time is it? 5 o'clock? Something that we need to discuss.
Let me just run down and make sure that room's clean and
Okay.
we can get to it. So unless I come scurrying back, we're all set.
Okay, we'll give you a chance to scurry then, I guess? Okay. Deb, thank you. I saw the email.